Você está prestes a iniciar sua jornada em uma das melhores empresas para trabalhar. Neste vídeo você vai conhecer mais sobre as apps, nossos benefícios e por que vale a pena ser um Zapter. Somos uma empresa People First, que desenvolve experiências digitais que transcendem o estado da arte. Aqui você trabalha com propósito, é respeitado e valorizado desde o início. Conheça as apps. Desde 2014, ajudamos grandes marcas a otimizar a experiência digital de seus produtos através de super times de desenvolvimento. Aqui você tem a oportunidade de crescer profissionalmente, continuar estudando e ser quem você é. Como um Zapter, você pode se desenvolver em diversos stacks. Somos uma empresa full stack e aqui você continua aprendendo sempre. Você também terá direito a diversos benefícios. Super Kit de boas-vindas. Tenha tudo e mais um pouco para realizar seu progresso com tranquilidade. Nosso Discord. Utilizamos o Discord como principal comunicador da empresa. E sim, temos bot. Refeição e alimentação. Com o cartão Caju você tem muitos outros benefícios. Mais do que um vale-refeição. Sua saúde física e mental importa. Temos parceria com o Gympass e fazemos ginástica laboral 2 vezes por semana, para manter o corpo e mente sãos. Além disso, contamos com convênio médico e odontológico. Very Happy Hour. Mesmo à distância, nós celebramos muito. Tem acesso à nossa festinha online mensal. Programa de indicação. Ao indicar novos Apters, você ganha bônus no fim do mês. Benefício Home Office e Educacional. Quanto mais tempo de casa, mais bônus você ganha para investir nos seus estudos e setup. Além de tudo isso, você pode trabalhar em qualquer lugar do mundo. Nosso modelo de trabalho é 100% remoto. Pode vir, faça parte do nosso time. Confira nossas oportunidades em zaps.gup.io. Aceleração digital das melhores marcas com times de alta performance. Zaps.
Hey everyone, good night, good evening. So I'm really excited because we have our very first international episode of the UX Chat, our YouTube live series that we've been doing for a while right now. So I'm really excited because I had this chance to bring and to invite this great friend of mine to participate with us. So today we're going to talk about the UX designer career. As we already said, we are going to talk about what are the difference between working for big organizations and then going to smaller ones like startups, for example. We're going to talk about what are the pros, cons, and so on. So with no further ado, let me bring up to stage my friend here, Matei. Hey, Matei.
How you doing?
How are you? I'm doing fine.
I'm great. Can I just say, you're one of the only people that I've ever met that can pronounce my name the same way that my grandparents pronounce it, which is like the correct way. So I appreciate that.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm happy. I was kind of afraid that I misunderstood it and I didn't mispronounce it, but I think it was right?
Yeah, you nailed it. Thank you.
That's pretty cool. So Matei, first of all, I just would like to thank you. It's really a delight to have you here. We've been trying to have this conversation for a while right now, right? We've been trying to connect, and because it's been a while since it was a while since we spoke last time, and yeah. I was really happy that you have accepted this invitation. So thank you, my friend.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Funny enough, I got a Facebook memory the other day, and it was 7 years ago that we got that delicious ramen and those pork buns a block away from where I am right now. Yeah.
So yeah. Oh, you're living that close of that place?
I'm at my office right now, actually, and it's a block away from that place. Yeah. So
oh my goodness,
a lot of lunches will be had.
Oh gosh, sure. Yeah. That I think was one of the most incredible meals I ever had in New York City. So it was really nice. Yes. Not only for the food, but also for the company, right? It was huge. Chili. We were talking about a lot of things. Jilly would like to have you here. So maybe next time we can invite her to talk with us.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice.
Great.
Yeah. So Jilly Chan, really
For
cool.
those
Oh,
wondering, the restaurant is called Ipudo, and it's a ramen place.
yes,
It's in
yes.
Astor Place in New York. If you ever find yourself in New York, it's
Yes,
worth a
Ipudo
stop.
is the place.
Yeah.
Ipudo is the place. For you guys that like ramen, it's the best place ever. Not only that, I remember that we had like that 1,000 layer crepe or something.
Yeah,
1,000 layer.
milfoy or something like that. And I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure a whole bottle of
Oh,
sake as well, which probably helps us
that's true.
remember the night.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was that green tea ice cream as well.
Yes, everything is good there. There's nothing bad on the menu.
Yeah.
Like
It was really
it's
nice. Yes,
absolutely
yes.
worth. Well, if anyone ever comes, yeah, let me know. I'll join you for lunch.
Actually, that is the very best place, and the second place is that pizzeria that we went as well.
Yes, I'm not
Mm,
gonna
mm.
get into like what the best pizza in New York is because I'm gonna probably get death threats like sent to my house. So it's it's very contentious kind of topic of conversation. But numero
Yeah.
28 was that place, and it was also very
Yeah, it's
good.
amazing. Yes, and
Yeah.
remember that across the street we had that ice cream place as well. That we had that
Yes.
fantastic ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't know why every time that we speak we have to talk about food.
Because food is amazing. It's like
Yeah.
as you know, it's
Food is
yeah.
fantastic. That's right. So I'm really glad to have you here again and to talk about that topic that is really nice. And actually, one of the reasons that I wanted to invite you is because uh, thinking about that time, I think that was the first very experience I had working with UX. That was back in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That sounds right.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds
yeah, it's
right.
a long time ago, long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I had a chance to meet you, and I think that was one of the turning points of my career because I've learned about what UX was, and I start getting into it because I got really passionate about the subject, and
Hmm.
and I think that one of the things that impacted me the most for those that don't understand what we are talking about, it was about a project that was for J&J long time ago, and we had the chance to visit some medical centers, right? The clinics, see the doctors, see the patients, and about that project that we were working, and that was what really impacted me in a certain way, that I decided that I had to work with UX for life. That was that turning point. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to invite you, and also, of course, all of your experience of going all those nice companies that you've been working at. So I'd like you to share with us this experience. So,
Sure.
but before that, I we need to introduce ourselves, right? So please,
Let's
Matei,
do it.
introduce yourself, my friend.
Well, okay, sure. So my name's Mate. My last name is much harder to say, so I'm not gonna. You can find me on LinkedIn. So yeah, my name's Mate. I've been a UX designer, I guess, since 2013, as I just like did the math with Rocky. Um, I I started at J&J. That was like one of my first real jobs. And then I spent 2 or 3 years in like the creative agency world in New York City. I worked on a bunch of different projects for a bunch of different clients. Ended up doing a lot of the pitch work, like making the decks, the presentations, and going into the clients' offices and convincing them that this is what they should be building. And the type of agencies that I was working for back in the day, a lot of the times, what you presented to the client wasn't ultimately what ended up being built. And you kind of lost like the thread between like that presentation, the pitch, and the product. So I really wanted like to connect with the product a little bit more, to see it come to life, to look at user engagement data, to see how users are actually interacting with the products and adjust and make changes. So I went product side. I was lucky, just by sheer luck. I applied to Audible at Amazon and they said, okay. So I went and worked there for 3 years. Um, at Amazon, I worked mostly on Audible stuff, and specifically Audible. And I worked on iOS, I worked on Android, I worked on a lot of conversion related stuff. I helped like stand new products up. I also work with the business development team on integrations with different platforms. Like I actually worked on integrating Audible and Uber together, like as a system, which never actually went through. And then I ended up working at Uber a few years later. So that's like a really confusing part of my career. But after Audible, I went to Spotify. I was there for about almost 3 years. I'm just going to round everything. Y'all can fact check me on LinkedIn. I don't remember.
After some time that you're doing stuff, you start just rounding things, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's 2 years, 9 months, and 2 weeks, whatever. No one cares. So,
Nobody cares.
so at Spotify, I basically was hired there specifically to restructure all the conversion funnels from free to premium as part of this big push that was to redesign Spotify from the ground up. We can get into it if we want to, but it's a pretty complicated, long, arduous story. So, but I worked on a bunch of really cool stuff. I also got a chance there to do like some passion projects and worked on like developing a way to help raise awareness about elections and different things through the app. It was really cool. I really love my time at Spotify. Then I went to Uber Eats after Spotify. I was there for, I don't know, a while. And
actually, you came to visit, you had to visit Brazil, right? When you were at Uber, right?
Yeah, I believe it was when I was at Spotify. I came to Sao Paulo. We used to do a lot of user research trips. And LATAM, South America, is a big market for Spotify, really popular down there. But
also Uber, right? Because of the competitors, right?
Yeah. I've been to Brazil a couple times. I don't remember. I think it was with Uber too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was for Uber Eats because I remember that you mentioned that you would be in São Paulo when you were trying to connect.
That's right.
Remember,
we were visiting restaurants. We went to do research at restaurants in Sao Paulo.
Yes,
and
I remember that.
I remember that. Yeah, that's right.
And again, it was all about food, right? So that was the reason that you remember me.
I was like, wait a second.
Yeah. If I'm going to some restaurants, let me invite my friend Rocky. Okay.
Yeah, it was work. We weren't like, we had scripts and interviews and translators. It was a lot of work and a lot of moving around. And also the flight down there from here isn't, like super.
And how come you didn't learn Portuguese, my friend?
I can't, man. I can only speak. I can speak Romanian. So if anyone wants to hear me embarrass myself like that, I can. But watching that intro video, I did pick up like on most of the words. So
really? That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. So I feel like I have a natural, but no, I don't. I have no idea what I'm talking about. So Uber Eats, worked on restaurant and consumer facing stuff there on the app, basically like helped bring a loyalty program to the market, a bunch of restaurant tools. And then I took like almost a year off, like during COVID. I was kind of just tired and able to like take a year off and just kind of relax and recompose and like see what I wanted to do next in my career. And then I went to Facebook and I was there for a little under 4 months. And then I decided to move on from Facebook. And now I'm at a cool little startup in New York City. If you hear dogs barking in the background, that's because there's a ton of dogs behind that door right there. And I get to do some really cool stuff that I haven't done in a long time and have a much bigger part in the way the company is being shaped and where it's going. And I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things that we're going to talk about, this kind of transitions from different cultures, different kind of companies. So nice, really cool, man. It's nice to hear from you and that you have this great opportunity to experience different areas and always working with user experience and that's fun. That's really fun. And just to get a little bit from the beginning, and when we were talking about the beginning of our careers as UXers, I would say, I remember that actually we were just having a little glance of what UX was in terms of our job, what we were doing. we were much more into the use cases,
Mhm.
writing down the specifications, understanding what was the business needs, and translating to I remember it was the first time that I was using balsamic, right? We were doing the
Yes.
mockups using balsamic, like the
Yeah.
wireframes and stuff, and we were connecting with that company, which is a big deal so far, which is the group Visual.io. They are
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
are they are really into it, and but we learned a lot, and especially in terms of I think at least for myself, one of the biggest challenges that I see that we had that time was how to put everything together, because we had like the UX team creating all the visual stuff and doing all the meetings, the experience and stuff. We were like visiting the doctors, visiting all of the places,
Mhm.
doing all those creative stuff. And then we were doing like the transcription for the use case. We were not even doing user stories. We were doing use case that time. And
Yeah.
then we had to do the handoff to the dev team. And I remember that one of the gaps that we had and one of the challenges was exactly this, the handoff to the dev team that were receiving everything. And I remember that was they were not sometimes they didn't understand that they should follow the screens or if they should follow the use cases, because they were I remember that we
Yeah.
had that challenge, right? So talking about challenge, what do you think was one of the biggest challenges for um, during when you started when you started in your career? What do you think it was the most challenging in terms of UX design?
Um. Hmm. I mean, on a personal note, when you're ever starting off in your career, the most challenging thing, even starting off a new job, is like, can I curse on this, by the way? Should I try not to? I'll try not to.
Yeah,
All right.
try
I'll
not
try
to.
not to. All right. At least I asked. I gave you the courtesy before dropping that bomb.
But sometimes it's just a slip, so don't worry.
Okay. Well, if a couple slide, I apologize to our audience. They will be in English. No. Okay. So I think like there's like personal challenges and like professional challenges. I think like early on in my career, it was just like I was really new at everything and I didn't know how to do anything. And I was around like some really smart people that knew how to do a lot more. Like the imbalance of like knowledge was so great, like next to the people that we were around. Especially if you remember like Baron or like some of the more senior devs there, like, there was just like really intelligent, smart, like experienced people. And I think I felt like a lot of like, we call it imposter syndrome here. If I,
Yes, we
I don't
have
know
the
if that's,
same.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
it translates well. The imposter
Yeah.
syndrome is well known.
Yeah, and I mean, I still feel that like with every new job. It's like I've been at like I played bingo with like all the companies that like everyone wants to work for, and every time I start something new, I always feel like that. I'm like, am I good enough to actually do this? Like, why did they let me have this job? I shouldn't be here. Like, and like it just sits in the back of my head for like a while. And that's just something like as I got older and like more comfortable, like it hasn't gone away. I'm just conscious of it that like it's still there. So I think like early on, like that was like a personal, like bigger challenge for me. As far as like the act of UXing or designing or whatever, I think it was finding like my role in like the product design space. It's kind of like it's nowadays like all the big companies have like what I guess would be called like more generalist roles. Like everyone's just a designer, like a product designer. Early on, there was like visual designers, animation designers, motion designers, graphic designers, interaction designers, whatever. Like, and you could probably like break it down. I think Google still has, correct, someone fact check me. Last time I checked, I think Google still specified like, those different roles, but a place like Facebook or Spotify, it's just product designers everywhere. And it was hard, like early on for me, it was like, what kind of designer am I? Like, am I going to be like the graphic designer? Am I going to focus on motion animation? Am I going to be like more technical? Am I going to be more like close to the product and do product thinking and something like that? So, some of that stuff just made itself clear over time as I figured out what my strengths and weaknesses are. I suck at doing like vector art. I'm not very good at doing really high fidelity illustrations. That's, I feel, an amazing skill set to have that I absolutely do not have. And I'm really honest about that, especially like, you know, when I'm interviewing for places or when I'm looking for my next role. It's not even that I'm bad at it. It's that I actually don't really care to get much better at it. Like I'd love to get better at anything, but there's just such a long list of other things that I want to get better at before I get into something like that. And that's just me personally. And I love working with people that are really good at that because, you know, they can take like a really bad version of something that I make and like just elevate it to a level. Yeah, not even make it shine. They, like, it's not even like they put a coat of paint on it and to make it look better. Like they'll take my input as just like there's that like an input, and the output is so far from like where I even thought it could land.
Wow.
Because I don't even have like that capability to visualize what it could be like. You know, as far as like a motion graphic illustrative piece goes. You know, like in that space, and that's what I strive to do. Like when I look at like product design, like through my lens that I've developed now for other people, well, like they give me like, here's like a brief, or here's like the product requirement doc, and here's what we need this thing to do. And then what I want to come back with is something that's like, oh wow, we didn't really think about like it could be that thing. That's really cool. And just try to like elevate. And you know, it doesn't always get made. There's the reality of like, you know, engineering resources and time, and you have to be conscious with all that before like shooting for the moon constantly. But yeah. I think,
One of the things that I really recall that was is that the challenge that we had to find good content, good materials and stuff to get inspired, to get to learn from. Today we have YouTube channels. We have a bunch of things on the internet about UX designer, UX design, and all the stuff that we must do, that we must know. Lots of books. We have stuff all around that can help us. And I remember that I couldn't find anything related to any course. It was difficult to find someone teaching about UX design that time. And I remember that I had to go to Philly to the AGI school to learn about UX designer because we didn't find anything here in Brazil. That was just really rare to find anything, or even hear about. People was not talking about UX design that time, so it was a challenge as well. So nowadays, the UX designers from today, they are, you know, they are blessed because they can find everything they want, and they can find all kinds of. They will have a bunch of people that already paid the price learning, and are sharing their knowledge to others. Our time, it was not that easy. So like I have a friend here just commented. So Danielle, thank you for comment. So I rather improve my best qualities than invest in something I might never get good at. That's true. That's totally
I saw that.
true.
I do. Can I just quickly like put an asterisk next to that? I think like you should try that thing that you think you're not going to be good at and just double check, because you might really like it. You might be really bad at it, but it might be really fun. To give you an example, I tried coding, like, you know, and we can go down this path later, Rocky, but like one of my big like side hustles and passions like in design is to make like interactive data visualizations in D3, whatever, if that means anything to anyone, cool. But it's just like I love playing with data and visualizing it in ways that like are really not that useful to anyone. Most of it is like half art piece, half like data piece, you know, whatever. But it's something that makes me really happy, and I really sucked at it. Like when I tried it,
but you like
D3,
it, right?
but I loved it. So like, you know, when like, you know, so like I would say like try all of it if it's like even adjacent to design, because it's all useful to know. And if you don't love it, then obviously don't waste your time trying to learn it. And you know, but try everything once. Like, you know, try motion design, try copywriting. Like it's actually like really hard, and it's really hard to do well and like to resonate with a lot of people and to do it like in a way that like translates across cultures and languages and doesn't alienate people. It's an art form, and it's really hard. You should try that way. Yeah.
So this guy that comment, Daniel, he has a YouTube channel that teach people. He teaches people about UX design. So
Nice.
yes, you can, and so this is the difference. Today we have people like Daniel that shared their knowledge to others, and we didn't have this in our
Yeah.
time, right?
I guess, yeah, but like,
Yeah.
let's not be the old guys that go like,
No, but come on. I know
that.
that. But nowadays it's much easier, right? To have much more. Not that it was impossible, but it was kind of rare to find this kind of content. But anyway,
no, totally. No, you're right. But also like UX design in general, it's like a pretty new field. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
again, someone can check the history of it, but I'm pretty sure like human computer interaction wasn't a thing until the 80s, 90s.
Yes,
and
that's
it was
true.
really like Carnegie Mellon, I think, that like was one of the first places, then where Georgia Tech, I don't remember. But like it's not something.
Even though Norman that was talking about in late 80s, that was when he was talking and envisioning the term UX designer, UX design, right? So, and he said that he built the office of the UX design engineer or something that time. So it's not that compared to the industrial design, compared to the design itself. UX
engineering itself to programming. Like, I mean, there was books written about programming before our parents were born, you know, like
that's true.
The UX design, it took, you know, it's an optimization of, you know, design in general, like in a specific digital medium. So of course it took a minute to catch up. And even though it existed, but like, you know, you could argue that it didn't become popularized until like the real digital transformation of like the 2000s, where like it became ubiquitous to have a device you're constantly interacting with. And like, that's when resources got poured into really starting to shape those experiences, you know.
What is the thing that you like the most about the UX design, Matej?
Honestly, it's just like the problem solving. Like it's there's not like, you know, I love the medium in which it happens, the tools that I use to do it, and I'm pretty comfortable with those. I love like the connection to people that you have when you do it. And that's hard, you know, like I want to be like really genuine, and that's like hard to do because sometimes what we're really doing is trying to like, you know, some we're optimizing conversion funnels, right? Like we're trying to like sell ads to people, like, but sometimes like you just have to be honest, like it's a business decision.
Yeah, that's true.
Work for a business, like that's what we're doing. It's not this like, you know, sacred art form of like design. It's not like we're
actually that's what pays our salary. So
yeah. But within that, like you can have a chance to be like, you know, maybe let's not be really terrible about like how aggressive we go after like people in this email or like in this conversion flow. Maybe we shouldn't like make the unsubscribe button like white text on a white background, you know, like, and like just having that voice like in a capitalistic like economy, I feel like is pretty important. Like that, at least like go into it like trying to minimize the bad that you do, like, you know.
Yeah, we can't be naive, right? That everything is beautiful. But one thing that I really agree with you, it's the opportunity to connect with people. I think that is one of the bad things of the job, is to interact, at least for the people that like working with people, right? Because there some might not like doing this. So, but anyway, for myself, I really enjoy to connect with people, to understand what are their needs, I think, and make things better. I think that's one of the things that I like the most is how can I make things better? How can I make things work better and help other people? I think that is one of the best. And also, of course, I like beautiful things. I think all the designers, right? We kind of like good, beautiful things. So and I like.
No, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, just to build off of that, like, I mean, the only reason that I am able to talk to my grandmother, who's almost 90 years old and she lives in Romania, is because the UX design team at Apple has made a product that is not intimidating for her to actually pick up and learn and make a FaceTime call. And she has an iPhone and an iPad, and now she's posting on Facebook, and we're messaging, and like it's like helped me build like a connection with them. We can go into like the ethical concerns that we can have about like Apple and Facebook as companies, but like that specific thing is like, you know, one of the better examples of like why like good UX design like helps, you know. And
Yeah,
anyone
yeah.
that's used, like, you know, every time I use an app and like, or some service, I'm like, my God, this is so frustrating. Like, I just want to buy this freaking thing. Let me give you my money. Like, why can't I buy this thing right now? Like, this is such a failure on your part if I'm trying to give you my money and I can't. Like, you know,
That's true.
stuff like that. Like, that kind of stuff makes me
Yeah.
go, like, we need more of us. Like, we need more of this, you know?
Yes, that's true. That's true. I think
Yeah.
that what's drives me in a certain way is somehow I can like make an app that eventually my wife will use it
Hmm.
to order some food or stuff like that, and it's gonna make her life easier. You know,
Yeah.
so eventually someone that I know, I had the chance to make their lives easier because the job I did. So
Yeah.
I think it's a nice thing to think about. Um,
Totally.
and
I just want to like that word make people's lives easier. We use it a lot in our industry, and this,
yeah,
you know, I'm sorry if this seems like a TED talk, and I don't mean it to be. Also, I might just be completely wrong, but like, you know, there's a real fine line. Like we tend to use that a lot. Like, you know, we're
yeah, that's
making
true.
people's lives easier by like serving them like, you know, targeted ads that like we know like are relevant to them. Like that's like words that like I've heard like internally at companies,
Yeah,
let's say.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
that's
and
true.
you know, I don't know if I buy that. Like, I don't know if I buy that. Like, but like being able to connect with someone you love that like otherwise you wouldn't be able to, like that I buy that.
That's
Like,
fine.
you know.
Yeah,
So it's like a balance between those two things. Like I think both have to exist in order for us to get free like Facebook accounts and free like video messaging and all that. Like, you know, those are services that otherwise anyway, I'm not gonna get into like a capitalism
Anyway,
versus
I
like
think
we're not gonna
that
yeah,
would
but
be
yeah.
that is a good topic for another
It is.
video,
Yeah, I
and then
think
we
so.
can
That
anyway.
one I'm
So
gonna in that one you're gonna have to let me curse and I'm gonna have to drink wine.
of
That's the only
course,
way we're doing that one. Okay.
maybe we don't even record it,
No, we don't. We
so you
don't. I'm gonna
can
get sued.
free curse.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, so
Perfect.
so so tell me a little bit about the transitions through all these organizations. How was it? You
Hmm.
know, you've been moving around for good companies, working for good companies. At least they have a good name. You know, everybody wants to work for Facebook, right? Everybody wants to work. Yeah, yeah. You say
Yeah, yeah, okay, yeah.
it's fashion, man. It's fashion. Oh, I work for Facebook. Now it's not Facebook.
No, I get
It's
it. I
Meta.
get it.
Yeah.
It
So
helps.
and so, and what about the differences that you had to face in terms of culture? How was to move it? Because they are really big companies, right?
Hmm.
Even though
Yeah.
that they started, some of them started as startups like Uber Eats, for example, but Amazon or even Facebook, they are huge, right? So
Hmm.
how is it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I want to be delicate here. Um, it's different. I mean, it's a lot of energy is spent being part of that machine, like, and you know, the machine of like the process, and like, there's this document that happens before this step, and this step needs to have a checkbox, and then that step. I'm being a little dry, but like in general, like there's a lot of process at those places. But it kind of has to be there. Like it's not, it's through no fault of like the people that work there or those organizations, but a company with like 40,000 employees and like 1,500 designers, like there needs to like they need to slow down a little bit so that like we're all at least going generally in the same directions. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
1,500 designers. Wow, that's a little.
maybe more. I don't
That's
know. Like
amazing.
yeah, I'm hypothetical numbers. I'm not talking about any specific company, but that's the scale that like, you know, like a companies like that operate at. Now,
Mhm.
granted, they're not all working on the same part of the product, but like,
Mhm.
you know, there's a lot of overlap. Like, there's products that appear in different products, like especially on an e-com site. Like, the amount of ownership that you have as a designer, it's like you and a team of like 20 other people, you own like this little tab that's like underneath another tab. And when you click on that, something happens, and like that's your job. Like, that is, you got to make that load fast. You got to, everyone that clicks on
Oh
that has to
gosh.
like come out like converting at like 3.5% or higher. Like, it's just very organized to a point where it becomes like really mechanical. Not that there
Got it.
isn't room to do like really cool, awesome stuff in those companies. There absolutely is. And those companies in general, like, really, I think, do care about work-life balance, and they have like hackathons and hack days, and cool stuff happens there. It's just there's a process in place there that like it's good to go through and learn and like have that experience. I feel it's going to sound so privileged, it's ridiculous, but if anyone has a chance to go work at like a place like that, you should. I mean, you should absolutely say yes. Like, it does incredible things for just your resume, for, you know, your ability to go and do other stuff in the future. But it's also like exciting to be at a successful company and like see like, you know, that what that process is and why it's like that, and the problems with it and the benefits of it, you know.
There is a good question here from Simon. Working on a big tech like this, can you see your decisions affecting the scope of the final product?
Yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. It's just like it's not going to be. It's going to depend on like. So at Facebook, I worked on recruiting tools. So it was like internal tools to facilitate the recruiting process. The volume of recruiting at Facebook is enormous.
Huge.
I mean, it's bigger than most startups will ever get to, like just their recruiting pipeline. But obviously can't talk numbers. But like, so, you know, the decisions that we made for some of those, yes, I could point to it, but it wasn't like I created this new thing, like this new recruiting tool. It was
Feature.
more like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was more like a little optimization on a feature. Like, let's tweak this, let's tweak that. You know, the companies like that get to a point where like most of the big stuff is built. They're just trying to make it better or abstract it or um, optimize it, really. At Spotify, I added a new tab to like the Spotify free app. So like that was the thing where like I fought long and hard for that. It wasn't the most popular decision internally. We could talk about that some other time, but like it was the right decision at the time.
I bet.
And you know, so that was like, yeah, like, you know, I fundamentally changed like what the conversion experience in the on the free tier of Spotify was. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
you know, and it's cool to like know that like 150 million people or whatever, like, you know, got to use that, and then see how like those numbers, how like a small change in percentages, like when it comes to a conversion funnel, can affect at that scale, like what it can do for the business. It's really cool, and you really don't get to do that outside of big tech when you're talking about
Yeah.
hundreds of millions of people and like or a billion users, you know, on Facebook.
Yeah, I would say that it's not easy to have that level of autonomy, right? To decide on things. You need to it's everything that you need requires to follow a process, to a lot of people approving it, a lot of people checking and validating the ideas. And I believe that might be a lot of back and forth sometimes until the decision is made and the approvals come.
Yeah,
So
I
would you say that would happen?
it depends on the company. Like, some companies really do believe in bottoms up like autonomy, like Spotify. Spotify was just all about like there was a metaphor. I'm sure it's okay if I share this. It's just a fucking sorry, it's a metaphor. Uh, but like that, we used to say this thing internally that like, you know, Daniel, the CEO of Spotify, was like, he's like, everyone, we need to get to California, like as a big bet, like on the company. California might be what is now podcasting. That was a big bet when I was working there, and clearly the company's done a lot, like in the podcasting space. What I worked on, one of the big bets was, which was around like conversion and free users. And you know, the thing at Spotify was like, we got to get to California. California is the big project. And then it was up to like all the teams to just figure out how to get to California. Like, no one cared about if you took the train or you flew or you took a boat, like around, like it doesn't matter, as long as like we got to California. And in the way that the structure of Spotify was like a pod based model, where it was like myself, a product owner, who were kind of like partners. And then we had about 11 engineers, 7, 8, 9, whatever, varies like across time. That was just for our pod. And then a data scientist, a user researcher, a QA person, and a shared copywriter, basically. And we had full autonomy to go and run any tests that we wanted in the app. And then we wouldn't really present ideas to the business. We would present results and be like, here's a result. Like, do you want to cash this check? Like, which made decision making like super, super easy because it wasn't like a battle of feelings or like, you know, I'm not sure about that feature. I'm not sure how that's gonna like impact. It was like, no, we already did it. Here are the results, quantitatively proven at scale, like validated by our data science team. If we turn this feature on to 100% of our users, here's what we project based on an A/B test that we ran. And that made the decision-making conversations a lot easier because it wasn't like, it left very little up to chance. It was more like, is this like what the business wants? Do we want to move this metric? And I really loved that. I mean, we were launching like 4 or 5 tests a month. We tried a bunch of random stuff that like, we were just like, we're not sure if it's going to work, but let's just give it a shot. Like, whatever. Surprisingly, there's probably hundreds of A/B tests running at Spotify at any time, maybe more. Because all the teams are kind of working like this. It's changed a bit since that time, just before they went public. I went there through the IPO. But yeah, I mean, I've been at other, so generally, like I've seen the same at Facebook, very bottoms up. I thought it was like, you know, like the teams decided on what they wanted to work on, you know. We would look at a roadmap, we're like, you know, we had one large umbrella goal of increasing this metric. And then we get together every quarter or half and be like, all right, what are some projects we want to work on that are going to increase this metric? And it was just up to us, really. If there was any like approvals that had to happen, the management levels above me, at least, did a really good job not letting me know that was a thing. And stuff usually didn't get cut.
No, that's really interesting to hear, you know, because we think that might be really, you know, a lot of bureaucracy for stuff like that.
There is bureaucracy. There is, like, that's still there. It's just not so much in the decision making, but it's
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It also depends.
It depends,
bureaucracy.
Right?
Like I didn't feel like. I mean, and again, this is one person's opinion, and my experience.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
What it is, you know. That's also another thing too. These companies are so big that you can have someone that says, "I loved working there as a designer. It was one of the coolest things ever. Like we could do whatever we want. We could experiment. We launched tests, and like my portfolio and use cases were amazing, and it grew and whatever." You can have another designer that worked like in a different part of the company and be like, "It was the worst job I've ever had. I would never work for that company again." And it has to do with like, you know, what are
the
your
sizing of it,
like?
right?
I think
because you find a lot of different people there, right? Because it's big, so it's not.
Yeah, totally.
I think that might be one of the things that, from in my point of view, what I understand that is challenging. When the more you grow, the harder it gets to have everybody with the same. How can I say the same? I wouldn't say spirit, but I would say like the same DNA maybe, or the same understanding of how things work in terms of the vision from the guy that created in the very beginning. You know, the essence. I would say that. I think that is the word, to keep the essence of what it was from the very beginning. And I think that's. And then when you get big, you have silos, right? It's not.
Yeah.
Find that kind of situation as well. So might be that one of the things that might differ from person to person in terms of experience of working for these big companies, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that like you know, to segue to like maybe something tangential, you know, and we were saying we'd like to talk about like seniority. I know someone commented about like, you know, what is like. So I'm like a senior designer, whatever that means. Like I've been doing it for like enough time that like I had to make a choice between like people management or not people management. Whatever, we can get into that some more time. But the more senior you are at these companies, like the more your job becomes to like kind of connect like teams together and like keep everyone in the loop and dance this like line of like keeping people informed but not ask for permission, you know, and it's like pretty delicate sometimes, like, you know, it becomes a little political, which isn't something I love, but like it's just part of, you know, being a more senior person, where you want to just kind of protect like less senior people from the politics of it, because they're still trying to figure out how to be like really good designers, like, or they're still trying to figure out what kind of designer they are, and that's really hard to do when like you have to speak that like political language and worry about like, oh, that team owns that feature, but we need to go and like change something in their little playground, and like how do we handle that, like how do we request to make the change, how do we work with them so like they're partners, and like, you know, like while like we still go and do that thing that we really need to do. That I feel like that's one of the things that falls under like the more senior design.
Got it. Yeah. Now, real quick, I need to fix my background here.
Yeah, do it. No, it's dead.
Yeah, no, it's better.
Nice.
So, one of the things that I was thinking about this is when we are talking about working for big organizations such as Facebook or Spotify stuff, and what would you say are the pros and cons of working for this kind of organization in terms of sizing big organizations?
I mean, some of the smartest people on the planet work at these places. It's like ridiculous. Like I feel like, you know, I over the last 10 years of me doing this, like I'm now like getting pretty confident with my own abilities. Like I never see like a project and go like, oh crap, I don't know how I'm gonna figure this out. There's always a solution. I have a process for like coming up with answers. Like it's not that so much that like it's just the experience, but like the amount of like intellect that like exists like at a place like Spotify or Facebook, it's almost like kind of scary in a way sometimes, like just because of what that intellect is being applied to. Again, different conversation with the wine and the cursing, but but you know, I met some like people that are just straight up brilliant at these companies, and it's nice to just be around them and just ask them questions and learn from them, and that's really, really cool. That's going to be hard to do just from a statistical numbers perspective, like at a smaller company. And not that there's not like amazing people working at smaller places, just like the concentration of like people is just very different. I mean, if you work at Facebook, you can go on their internal tools and like message John Carmack if you want. Like, he works there. He posts on Facebook all the time internally. Like it's pretty incredible. Like, you know, as someone that like, you know, has admired him for a very long time, that's like one of those things that is pretty unique to a company like that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I think like, you know, if we're just talking about like scale, like in size, like that's one of the big positives. Another positive is that like you're going to keep getting paid like pretty consistently. Like the company is going to be there tomorrow. Like that's also a positive.
Yeah, that's true.
It obviously depends on what stage you're on in your life and like how risk averse you want to be. And like, you know, for me, it was like, that's okay if that goes away right now. Like, you know, that's why I went to like smaller places, but you know, it's consistent. Like work-life balance tends to be like, again, depending on what team you're on, it's very different, and what time of year it is, and like whatever. Like there's so many factors, but in general, like there's safeguards in place for that at the bigger places. And you know, the long-term benefit is that like, I mean, the second I put Amazon on my LinkedIn profile after I was just working at smaller places that no one ever heard of before, like the second I had Amazon on there, like my earning potential like doubled. Like I literally like doubled my paycheck, which is like another thing that people don't like talk about, but like the money that these places pay is like pretty obscene, especially in America in a big city. Like it's
that's true.
A lot of money.
That's big deal, right?
It is, because it gives you like, ultimately it's not even about the money, it's about the freedom that comes with it later on. Like I said, I was like privileged enough last year to be like, oh, I'm like really upset about COVID. I need a mental break. And I just didn't work for a year. And I bought a car and I went and started racing my car like on racetracks. Like that's not something that like, that's something that's like such a privileged thing to be able to do. And it's because I worked at these places where there's like equity involved and high salaries. And I was there for like a bunch of years where I was able to do that. So that's always money's cool. I mean, like, like let's be honest here. Like, the art form
Yes,
of
of
UX design is
course.
cool, but like it's also like nice to like not worry about that. Like,
That's true. And what about the cons?
I mean, the cons is that like, I think what some folks alluded to, like, yeah, I mean, like you do get to make decisions, but at the end of the day, like you're just like a really small wheel in like this giant machine that like just like people go in on one side and like money comes out the other. That's like basically like the business model. Again, being very, being very like loose with it, like,
Yeah.
but like you don't really get to say like I built this. Like you don't get to look at like the Facebook app and go like I had like a significant impact on the whole thing, like as a whole, as an experience, or like the Spotify app. You can show friends like features that you worked on, but like where I work
Hey,
now, like,
this button?
yeah,
I did it.
right, exactly.
This-
Like, and it's okay. Like, take pride in
it's
that. It's
okay.
cool.
Yes, it's
Like,
true.
it's
Yeah, I
awesome.
know.
Like, but you can't like go like I made this app, or like I made this experience, or I made like this thing. And at smaller places, like I'm one of like 3 designers here. It was 2 just last week. So I mean, here it's like we do everything from. I literally today I did. I mean, we do everything from like product photography to like marketing emails to all the product design that goes into the app to I did a photo shoot with my camera for like a magazine article that like we're gonna be in, like just everything that needs to be done, and like that, um, that freedom to like kind of dip your toes into whatever you want to do and like do everything and actually have like I know like every piece of design that's leaving like externally, like the company, like I am aware of it. You know what I mean? It's like
I know.
it's really cool. But yeah, so yeah, and then other cons, I guess, while you also have like some really, really talented and amazing people, sometimes people are just tired and like they're like, I'm good. Like I don't need to hustle anymore. Like I don't need to like work like the long nights and like keep getting better and whatever. I have a family. Like I don't care about that. Like I just want to like do my job, go home and
Get
like
stable,
and just be
stabilizing.
stable. And I completely respect that. Like that's everyone should strive for that at some point. But when I was younger and like I still consider myself, I guess, young. I don't know. That's debatable. uh, I'm not at that point yet. Like I'm still at the point where like I really want to learn blended. Like I really want to learn like WebGL, like and mix it with D3. Like I want to learn like this stuff that like I want people around me to be excited about like new and like exciting stuff too. And sometimes at the bigger companies that isn't like always there for everyone. Again, not a bad thing, just a fact of like what it is.
That's cool. That's cool. I have a question here from
Yeah.
Guilherme. What advice would you give to someone starting out?
Save everything. Save all your work. God, I lost like 2 years worth of case studies. Just save all your shit. Like don't delete anything. So when you're starting out, like I think like your goal, every decision that you make, like as far as what jobs to take, what kind of projects to go on, should be, can I tell an amazing story about the work that I'm doing later on? Can I build a case study out of this? Like, does this have like a problem statement and like a business problem and a user problem? And then like can I try like a bunch of different things and maybe user test a couple things? And then can I actually launch this and like get some data back? You can be a little creative with how that happens. I know it's like never like that perfect in the real world, but like when you're starting out, you should just focus on building a really strong portfolio. And that means like case studies and taking on projects and work that it lends itself to like good storytelling later on. Because as someone I've interviewed, I don't know, I've probably hundreds of people. I might be exaggerating. I lost count. I've interviewed a lot of folks, and I don't care what school they went to. I don't care like what their GPA was. I don't care like about anything except for their portfolio. That's it. Like are you like a generally curious person about like design and all things tech in general? And like there's different things I look for at different levels, obviously, but
Yes,
like
sure.
in general, like is their portfolio like cool? Like are they like excited? Like are they presenting their work in an exciting way? Are they like thinking about it more deeply than like I was told to put a button here and I put a button there? Like so yeah, portfolio. Just take care of your portfolio starting out.
Yeah, one thing that I would say is storytelling, right? It's all about the way that you tell your story, what you're doing, and this is one of the things that bothers me sometimes when I'm doing interviews and I'm looking for someone to work with in my team, is that it's a challenge to find people that when they are creating the portfolio, they really care uh, of telling a good story.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not only visual. Every time that I'm talking to people, I always tell them, "Hey guys, if you are creating your portfolio, so please tell a good story. It's not only screens. I don't want to see a lot of screenshots, a bunch of screens of stuff you did. I want you to tell me a story. How you get
Yeah.
there? How did you get there? And how was your creative way of thinking? How you learn what was needed and how you came with the solution. So this is what I most times, actually all the time, I'm looking for. And sometimes I got really pleased to find really good stuff as well. So when
Mhm.
I'm looking through some people that brings their portfolio, can, oh my god, what a piece of work. They thought about that, they followed this process, this is how these people thought, the creative line, the way that this person put everything together, that tells me a story.
Yeah.
So, and I think that this is so, I would give this piece of advice for everybody that is looking for a job with the UX design: learn how to tell a good story.
Yeah.
Build
100%.
stuff telling us, the people that are hiring, supposed to hire you, uh, tell us a story.
Yeah.
It's important, I would say that.
My old manager at Facebook actually like gave me a lot of really good advice around storytelling, and he really, I feel like in the short time that I was there, he was awesome. He was one of the only reasons I didn't leave earlier. Uh, he was, like he was just like I feel like a really good storyteller, and like and he gave me like some really like concise advice. Like, sometimes people give you advice and it's like, cool, but what do I do with that? He gave me like actual like concise advice that was actionable, and like I took it, and like I redid my entire portfolio based on his advice. And in general, like, this, like, the stories have to be concise. Like the yeah, right. Um, they have to be concise. I mean, like, once there should be no fluff in between the slides. Like, and it's also like not like about you. It's about the people that are looking
Hmm.
at your work. So like,
Exactly.
you shouldn't like show off in your portfolio that like, look at this, like, and then we did like all this other random cool stuff if it doesn't add to like the story. Because you have to like think about like these people that you're showing this work to, like, don't know like about the 2 years that you spent on this project at this company, the nuances of
True.
it. Like,
Exactly.
they don't know that, like, exactly like what the challenge is, like the culture was there. They have to, so like they have a zero starting point, so like it's really hard for them. It's for anyone like not familiar to kind of like fully understand what your role was in a project or what a project was. And if you add fluff on top of it and make it harder and go on like tangents with your story, it just makes it impossible to follow along. And then like once you lose someone, like they're not coming back. Like once they like start drifting away from like what you're talking about, it's impossible for them to come back because you've lost them. And there's um, yeah, storytelling is important. And I think the original question was, well, early designer. So like, early in your career, like keep that in mind as you work on projects. Like every time I ship something, I'm like, how can I use this like down the road? Like what is like what part of like what is this going to be part of like down the road? It's like an
That's
investment
right.
you make in yourself.
Hmm.
It's good.
Hmm. Um, w- w- One of the things that I feel, and I think that's kind of same thing you said, um, about the when you are working for this big organization, and like you're just another number sometimes, right? And that was sometimes what the feeling that I had when I was working for a big organization that I worked for.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and it was an amazing organization, big organization. So, and I just can't, regret of working there. It was really important for my career. It was important for my family.
Right.
I got all the benefits that you mentioned, that,
Right.
in it, but
it allowed you to take this risk that we were talking about earlier on a smaller
it's
company.
true. Yes. And then, but one of the things that was that I look at now and see is, how did I really have impact that organization in terms of what I did, if I'm looking to everything that this huge company has made, what is my portion of it? I just, it's hard to identify, your piece of job, the thing that you did there. So it's just like you said. And then when you decide that, of course, there's a lot of other decisions that you need to make, a lot of situations that you need to take in consideration when you are making this decision of moving to a smaller organization. It will depend on the moment of your life and a lot of other things. But is when you look at what you're doing, what you're able to to invest, and see that your time and your effort, and you can see on the walls. I see that I can, and when I step inside of the company that I'm now, and I look at the walls, I can see my hands here. I can see what I'm doing right now. I see that I'm part of the vision. I helped them to write the vision and the mission of the organization. I did their logo,
Right,
things like that. And then wow, I think that this is one of the most important things for me right now, is how I'm able to impact on things that I'm with the things that I'm doing, everything that I'm producing. So I look to my team, and I see what they are doing as well, the impact that they are making, everything that they are doing, all the designers from my team, working for the other clients, and the good job they are doing, and people recognizing their job, and they are able to identify what they are doing. This is really nice. It pays off a lot for us that are leaders, that you see your team doing stuff, and in yourself, what you were able to collaborate in terms of building, even how to talking about the culture itself, how you were able to influence it, how you were able to participate on the decisions. So when you go to that level, and you see, wow, that's pretty awesome. And I think that you probably are seeing this right now, because as you said, you are doing pretty much everything that there. You're doing, put your hands in everything. You can see your job, right? You see the picture you took going to that article. You see the decisions that you make on the color that you're picking for some material. Everything that you are doing, it's, for us at least, as a designers, I would say, it's really nice to see your work, right? To see what you're building up, right?
Totally, yeah. I mean, I'm with, like, I'm in the same camp as you when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's not like that. I don't know. I feel like my opinion on that has changed over. I guess, like, when I was younger, I was trying to optimize for income. Like, I was broke. I had a lot of college students. I had a lot of debt. I needed to pay it off.
Being
like,
there.
I was living off of credit cards. That shit sucks. It's not fun. So what I optimized my early career was for income. And then I optimized my career after that for, I don't know, we call it like prestige chasing here, where like you go and like go work at all the big companies. So like your resume looks good. I don't know. I'm sure there's a name for that in everywhere. But basically I optimized my career for, like, having big companies like on my resume. And then I realized that, like, what I'm optimizing my career for is like happiness, which, like, I didn't really think I could optimize for. But like, again, it's like a really privileged like position to, like, you can't really optimize for that, like, unless you like kind of take care of all the other stuff before. I mean, at least in my position, like, I needed like some sort of like foundation financially and like, like, and all that. And now I'm like just optimizing for like, am I just going to be happy like being in an office or like working on this thing every day? And for me, like personally, what that meant was like having my hands on everything and like having the oversight and like but that's not what it's going to be for everyone. That's just like for
That's
people like
true.
me and you. And like, there's nothing wrong with like not wanting that. That's just one type of personality that is equally just as valid as like every other type of personality.
I
Um,
would say that we are talking about cycles, right? So you have a cycle, and then
maybe,
there
yeah,
is a different cycle that you need that, this big movement and stuff, and then you need to slow down, step back, and then realize more stuff.
yeah,
And
maybe.
we have our lives are made of phases, right? You have different phases, you have different needs depending on the time of your life. So I think that drives a lot of our decisions as well, right?
Of
They have a
course, yeah,
question here.
yeah.
Gabriel is saying, but by hearing you, I see that it's a huge dilemma to choose between a big and small companies. And in the end, the most important thing is the people that you are working with, right? Do you agree with that?
Uh, to an extent. I mean, this is such a bad answer, but like it really depends. Like, again, like working at like one of these companies that like when you tell your grandmother the company name, she's like, "Oh, I know that company." Like that is like so powerful for your ability to then in the future, like to do a few years in like a place like that. It's so powerful for your ability to then go like actually have a choice of like whatever you want to do in the future. That like if you're in a position where you don't have that like uh, experience yet, I would say go work for the company your grandma's going to be like really excited for you to go with. Like when I left Johnson and Johnson, literally my grandmother was like, "Why?" I'm like, "You work at Johnson and Johnson." Like she was telling her friend. And by the way, my grandmother lives in Romania, like not even in the capital, like in the middle of Romania. And she was telling her friends that I work for Johnson and Johnson. They all were like, "Oh yeah, we know this company. We fully understand that your son is successful, like because we understand the name of this company." And like that translates into like your resume and your LinkedIn and like your ability to then like in the future go and like actually find like a cool company that you want to work for and have a much higher chance of actually being able to go work there because you had this experience, you've been vetted by the big company and you've gone through that. So if that was the case, I would choose the big company. Like I think I started with small companies and then I ended up at big companies just so I can end up at a cool small company. Like that was like my trajectory.
Mhm.
um if if you've done the big company thing and you feel like there's nothing there left for you right now and like you want and you have a really cool opportunity, like just to be clear, like I didn't just leave like Facebook because I wanted to work at a small company. That was like a part of it. Like I was willing to like not leave for a long time. I just found like the right company,
Yeah.
like for so many different reasons, like the stage where they're at in their growth, like the size of the company. I know everyone's name, like we all work in one office. Like that's something that I never had before. Like the actual like to actually know everyone that you work with, like it's not going to happen at Facebook.
Mhm.
um there was a lot of reasons, like it them being a small company was kind of like an umbrella for like all the things I was looking for. But I came to work for this company specifically. They're the only ones I was like really excited about and like the willing to like leave all that for.
Mhm.
So again, like if you're in a situation like that where you found something really exciting that maybe there's a clock ticking, go do that. Yeah, I'm sure that didn't help your decision making process because I just told you to go do both things. So I'm sorry, but it really depends. I don't know, at least in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I agree with you. I think it depends on your moment of life and everything. I think that at least I would say that for now I'm really really happy and where I am, and
Yeah,
getting
they're watching Rocky, so you better be.
yeah, yeah. No, but anyway, but it's true. I'm not lying, man. Getting shit done,
Yeah,
that's the stuff. I'm getting stuff done and seeing what I'm able to impact and to influence, and see my team as well doing the same. It's
yeah,
really sweet. It's really nice. And but I totally understand, and it will depend. It will depend on your moment of life and a bunch of other things that you need to take in consideration as well.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's pretty cool.
I work with 10 dogs in my office. Like, I get to play with dogs all day. Like, that was honestly like that optimizing for happiness thing. Like, that wouldn't have been a consideration
See?
that like I would
Yeah.
have let myself like make a decision like this on like, you know,
Uh-huh.
a few years ago. But that was like that went in the pro column, like, you know, when I came over here. That was not the
Sure.
only reason I joined, obviously, but like, you know, cool office, cool people, there's dogs, everyone's like really laid back, like cool. Like
It's
those are
nice.
all good things, like for me, you know, for me, like at the time.
Yeah, of course. Man, thank you so much to have you here. It's been if I could stay for more 2 hours, a couple of hours more talking to you, and it would be
I
really
have a
cool.
birthday in 2 hours. I have a birthday
So
party
okay,
in
all
two
right.
hours, so we can go a
So
little late. It's okay.
yeah, but anyway, I really appreciate your time. It's
Yeah.
been a really a joy to chat with you again, and talking about this topic, this subject. And I just would like to also to thank the audience, everybody that's here, that was sending questions, that was interacting with us. Thank you. And Matei, I have to make you an invitation to come again so we
Sure.
can talk more,
This
and we
took
can
zero preparation for me, so it's really not that much hassle.
yeah
It's
anyway,
just me rambling.
but it was really cool. It's really amazing, and I'm really happy to that my company allowed me to do this kind of stuff, because I really
Yeah,
enjoy
no
it.
problem.
So that's really a pleasure. So thank you, Matei, once again. I thank everybody that was watching, and see you soon. And I hope and everybody that is watching, please hit the like and share and every stuff already. So that helps a lot, the channel. So, and again, Matei, thank you very much. I really
Yeah,
appreciate.
my pleasure. And if anyone has any other questions, just bother me on LinkedIn. I check it like once a week, maybe. So, you know,
I know.
it'll take me a second. Yeah, you
Yeah,
tried. I'm sorry.
yeah. All right, Matei. Thank
All
you
right.
again.
Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
You too. Bye bye. Appreciate it once again. Bye bye,
Sure.
man.